Breaking free from the lie of perfection is probably the best thing I've done this year. Is that a stretch? No, I'm happy with it. Hey girl, welcome to all my new subscribers. We've had quite a few new subscribers since I last posted. And guys, I'm so grateful for the love, for the responses, the comments, the liking, the sharing, the subscribing. I appreciate it all. I see it all. I love engaging with you guys in the comments. It's so comforting knowing that I'm not alone. I'm not going through these experiences alone, and I'm honored to be able to help and advise in the way that I can based on my own experiences and what God has taught me. So thank you so much. But you guys are here for what it says in the title, so let's get into it. So you haven't started yet, and because of that, you feel burdened, jealous, resentful, and maybe even undervalued. And those feelings won't go away until you take action. You don't need anyone but yourself to pull you out of that place. You just need to realize that every reason you've given yourself to stay idle has been a lie rooted in fear. And deep down, you already know this. We allow the lies that are spoken to our minds to hold us back. They stop us from living authentically, doing what's on our hearts, and from walking in our God-given purpose. And we make it worse by trying to justify them with logical excuses. Now is not the right time, or I'm not ready. And by doing that, we lock ourselves up in a reality that just doesn't serve us. But the good news is that God's truth tears up every single one of those lies. In this video, I'm going to share the reasons I gave myself for not starting and show you how God exposed each and every single one of them for what they really were. Let's dive in. One of the biggest reasons we use, and this definitely was one for me, is oversaturation. You might be thinking, there are already so many people doing what you want to start doing. And how could I possibly make a difference? And that fear feels real, right? But it's not. They're just based on misconceptions. And here are 3 that we're going to unpack. The first one is the fear of competition. The idea of competing in a crowded space can feel quite overwhelming, whether it's starting a YouTube channel or launching a business or chasing after whatever passion projects you have. It's easy to feel that there's no room for anyone else. But I submit to you that competition means demand. Jesus reminds us of this in Matthew chapter 9, verse 37. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Even in spaces that feel crowded, there's still so much work to be done. There are needs to be met, people to serve, and opportunities to make an impact. So oversaturation doesn't mean that it's too late. It's a sign that there's still plenty of room for you. The second misconception is the lack of originality. You ask yourself questions like, what can I possibly do that hasn't already been done? But you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Let's think of it like this. You probably have a favorite coffee shop, right? But sometimes you find yourself in an environment away from your go-to shop, but still needing a coffee. So what do? You go to the nearest shop. And although it's not your usual spot, you're still satisfied because that need was met. You might even try a slightly different version from your usual drink and realize that you actually prefer it. And that's exactly how it works with you. You are the coffee shop nearby that someone didn't even realize they needed. So open up and serve. Not all of us were made to be inventors or pioneers. Some of us are just called to meet people where they are with what we have and in a way that only we can deliver. Your voice, personality, and perspective make your contribution valuable. For crying out loud, there are 8 billion people in this world. Do you think only one person or a bunch of people can be sent to all of them? Absolutely not. You're needed. The harvest is vast, and God sends each of us to reach specific people. You don't need to reach everyone. You just need to reach the ones you are meant to serve. And trust me, they will connect with your authenticity. Another fear I had was running out of ideas. But when I feel like that, I just remind myself of who the source is. That's God. He's the creator. He's the one that gives me the ideas. And so I lean into that. I rest in it and I don't stress. And unlike human beings, God isn't limited. The same God who inspires me to speak can inspire someone else to paint and deliver the exact same message to a completely different group who will understand that. Don't limit yourself and don't limit what God can do through you. Lean into Him and let Him be the source of your creativity. Now, the third misconception under oversaturation is comparison. It's so easy to look at others who've already succeeded and think, why even bother? But everyone starts somewhere. The experts you admire today will once standing where you are at the beginning. Comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20 is honestly just a waste of time. So instead of getting caught up in comparison, here's what you can do. Learn from them. Look at the mistakes they've made and the lessons that they've learned and save yourself time. Avoid unnecessary setbacks. Their journey isn't there to intimidate you. It's there to guide you. When we think about Samuel, who was sent to the house of Jesse to appoint a king, he looked at Eliab and thought this must be the one. But God had already rejected him. He said, the Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So don't count yourself out because you think someone is better looking or further along. God knows what He's placed in you. He knows your heart, and that's what matters most. So whether it's the fear of competition, lack of originality, or comparison, these lies all have one thing in common. They focus on what you lack and not what you have. And that brings me to the next excuse. The feeling of not having enough. How many times have you told yourself that you don't have enough? But God has never needed perfection or abundance to do something amazing. All He asks is that you bring what you already have and trust Him with the rest. Think about Matthew chapter 14, where Jesus feeds over 5,000 people with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. When Jesus told the disciples to feed the 5,000, they panicked and said, we don't have enough. But Jesus responded by asking them what they had. God doesn't need perfection from us. He doesn't need us to have everything figured out before we start. So often we let perfectionism hold us back. And listen, I completely get it. I've always had an eye for quality and I have been a perfectionist. But I can tell you right now that starting, even when you feel, especially when you feel that things aren't perfect, is probably, I don't know if I should say the best thing, but it's definitely a great thing. None of the videos I've uploaded up until now have been perfect in my eyes. And I was even close to not uploading my Hearing from God video. But when I was editing, I just had to remind myself that, Chama, this is not about you. And giving into that process of just starting and doing has been so freeing. Breaking free from the lie of perfection is probably the best thing I've done this year. Is that a stretch? No, I'm happy with it. I will continue showing up even when I think it's not perfect, because it's going to help someone. I'm a human being. I don't need to be perfect. The constant need for perfection feeds that rejection identity, and I have taken that off. I have broken away from it. I'm not going to pick that up again. And I encourage you to do the same. In Matthew chapter 13, Jesus likened the kingdom of God to the mustard seed. A mustard seed starts small, but it grows into something far beyond what you would expect. And that's how God works. He takes what we give Him, no matter how small or imperfect, and grows it into something extraordinary. But the catch is, you have to plant the seed. So stop waiting for things to be perfect. Bring what you have, plant your seed, and trust God to grow it into something extraordinary. What's in your hand right now? What's your mustard seed? It could be a skill, an idea, or just the courage to take the first step. Whatever it is, don't let the fear of not enough or the lie of perfection hold you back any longer. God doesn't need perfect to do amazing things. He just needs your faith and willingness to show up. So here's what I want you to do. 1, identify the thing you've been delaying. 2, write down what you have to get started. What's your loaf of bread? What's your fish? What's your mustard seed? 3, surrender it to God in prayer and trust Him. And 4, start planting your seed and get to work. Take the step no matter how small it feels and let God start His work through you. If it's not too personal, let me know what your loaf of bread and mustard seed is in the comments below and the actions that you're going to start taking today. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And if this message encouraged you, please do like, comment, and subscribe and share it with anyone you know needs the encouragement also. And I'll see you very, very soon. Toodles.